Assignment 26.3 Estimating VO2 Max Part 2. So having conducted both the Queen's College Step Test and the multi-stage fitness test, there would be sets of results again. So both tests were done twice. This is to ensure that there is a wider spread of data and also to ensure that the participants' tests were not an anomaly the first time they did them. So the first table you see under the results section, this is the participants' data. So their sport, their height, weight, age, and gender, and then the results for the first test and the second test for both the Queen's College Step Test and the multi-stage fitness test. And the first calculation you see is the multi-stage fitness test calculation. So this is an online calculator sourced from Brian Mack, and it allows you to input the level that the participants scored. So they scored level 9, shuttle 2, press calculate, and it gives the VO2 max score of 54.48. This is a very handy tool to use as it enables the researcher ease of access. So they're able to easily access the online calculator. It's also a very handy tool as it saves a lot of time. The calculation below, however, is the calculation used for the Queen's College Step Test. As you can see, there are different calculations for men and women, and this is because the metronome beat for the Queen's College Step Test is slower for the women compared to the men. So as my participant was a male, I'll be using the male calculation. So this is 111.33 minus 0.42 times the heart rate. So as you remembered from as said previously stated, sorry, the post-test measure for Queen's College Step Test is the 15-second pulse is taken. What would need to be done is the heart rate would need to be calculated. So you times that 15-second pulse by 4, and the 15-second pulse for the participant was 31 and 32. So you would times that by 4 and you would get the answer. So you'd do 0.42 times by 124, and then you would minus 113, and that would give a VO2 max score of approximately 59, and then doing it for the next test it would give a VO2 max score of approximately 58. So looking at the first graph here, you can see the first blue line is the first Queen College Step Test, second one is the second Queen's College Step Test, and the third one is normative data for rugby players according to the IRFU, which is the International Rugby Football Union Board for Ireland, and they tested a number of 17 to 21-year-olds regarding their VO2 max score based on position. As my player is in the backs, they require a large amount of speed, so this number here is based off the backs. And then the final bar chart down at the bottom here, this is the participants' score for their VO2 max for the multi-stage fitness test, and as you can see that is also on a par with the national average from the IRFU. However, they can also improve their VO2 max if they wanted to become better in their sport and get further and faster. So what they could do is they could focus on their aerobic fitness. This can be done by doing something called fartlek training. Fartlek training is effectively, it's a Swedish word for speed play, and it enables the participant to increase their aerobic stamina and their VO2 max as it involves a mixture of walking, running, and jogging. The participant could also engage in activities where they are continuously improving. So something such as a rowing machine. A seated rowing machine would give the participant not only stronger leg muscles, which is what is needed in rugby, as speed and power are such crucial elements of the sport, but also it would allow them to have a higher VO2 max as they are having to use more oxygen as they pull and use their legs to drive themselves on the machine. So having completed all the tests and identifying individuals' data, looking at the group data to compare the Queen's College Step Test and the multi-stage fitness test, it is clear to see that there is not a significant difference. This is because the p-value that is given is 0.006, and this means it's not significant. However, looking at the graph, so the first graph here is a scatter graph to show the correlation between the multi-stage fitness test and the VO2 max and the Queen's College step test, I beg your pardon, and it is clear to see that there is a weak positive correlation. So this means that the result from one of the tests can mean a similar result to the other test. So for example, if you only had access to the multi-stage fitness test and couldn't access the Queen's College step test, the multi-stage fitness test would be an accurate way of measuring this. Obviously, the ideal way would be to use the Douglas bag, e.g. going through the gold standard procedure. However, this is not always available, as previously explained. So by using the multi-stage fitness test, instead of the Queen's College step test and the Douglas bag, it is one of the most accurate indirect measures. As previously stated, both of these measures are indirect because they cannot exactly measure the person's VO2 max, because that has to be done via gas analysis. And then once identified that there is a positive correlation between the two tests, it is then possible to see how accurate both of these tests have been. So the second graph down, the second scatter graph, is the results from the Queen's College first Queen's College step test and the second Queen's College step test. As you can see, there is not a very strong correlation here at all. It's almost like there's no correlation. It's very uncertain. And therefore, it's very hard to say how accurate these tests have been. This could be down to a whole number of different measures, for example, different extraneous variables. But overall, it could be said that this test is a very weak test for retest reliability. The retest reliability is how accurate the results are going to be when the test is repeated by the same researcher following the same participants. The same researcher was the same, and as were the participants. So this test should have been relatively accurate the second time round. However, looking at the graph, it is clear to see that this test has not. However, it could be said that the researcher was wrong, and having a different researcher could impact the results again. This could be that the researcher wasn't monitoring the participants and they were getting the wrong rhythm, or it could have been that they took their heart rates wrong the first or the second time. Again, it could be the practice effect. The practice effect suggests that once you do something once or twice, or even more times, you get used to it, you understand it, you kind of understand what you can do here, what you can do there, how to make it easier for yourself. So for the first test, it would have been brand new to almost 90% of the participants that took place. However, the second time, it would not have been new. Participants would understand what it's like the first time. Oh, it's not as hard as I thought. It's this, that, and the other. It's easier than they thought. So this could have been an impact. Also, there are a few outliers in this. So the participants that are towards the top right of that graph suggest that their results are very similar. This could imply that they have their VO2 max is very stable, and it could imply that there's something wrong with the calculation. But it does suggest that overall there is not very accurate between the two tests. This could also relate to precision as well, and the precision of the test is obviously not precise, as the results are too far apart. However, looking at the third scatter graph at the bottom of the page, you are able to see the results from multi-stage fitness test 1 and multi-stage fitness test 2. And this is a lot easier. There is a strong positive correlation between these two tests. This suggests that there is a strong retest reliability for this test. So the participants did it once and they did it again after a couple of hours and had a rest. They would get the same score over and over, a relatively very close score over and over again. If they got the same score, the results would be up in a straight line. However, the majority of participants only moved between 0.3 of a score every time. There was no large incremental changes. It was all quite step change. It was very efficient changing. This does suggest, however, that the test is very accurate and the results are precise. This could be due to the calculation of the test also, as this was an online calculator. It's a lot more accessible and a lot easier for the participants to use, and the researcher, I beg your pardon. However, for the Queen's College Step Test, as previously stated, it is a manual calculation, and it can be confusing if unaware of how to do it correctly. So, overall, it could be said that both of these tests, the Queen's College Step Test and the Multi-Stage Fitness Test, are both very accurate indirect measures of estimating a person's VO2 max, and that neither of the tests are better than one another. However, it could be suggested that the multi-stage fitness test is slightly more accurate and precise than the Queen's College Step Test, and this is due to the test-retest reliability. As the multi-stage fitness test was more reliable in the retest reliability than the Queen's College Step Test, the multi-stage fitness test could be preferred over the Queen's College Step Test. However, if this was to be done again, it'd be suggested that a Douglas bag would be used and that gas analysis is the best way to estimate a person's VO2 max, because this is an accurate measure and it's direct and it's gold standard as previously stated before.